Welcome back to MPSC TV. Joining me this time is Dave Frecklington after what feels like a bit of a break. I think this is the first time I've seen you down here in about 3 weeks. It's been quite the layoff.
It has, yeah. I think it'll be 3 weeks on Saturday since we've played. Seems a bit of an eternity really since we managed to have a competitive fixture. Obviously winning the last game 1-0 against Ferriby. You want to try and get that momentum going and play game after game, but unfortunately we've had a couple of postponed and a free Saturday. But no, good to get back here tonight, get some minutes into the lads' legs and work on a few things ready for Saturday.
As a manager, how do you keep the players sharp mentally but also physically, so no rust works its way in? Because I'm guessing it's difficult because training is not exactly the same as a game. So how do you keep them at the peak of the sharpness and the peak of the fitness?
They're all fit lads, you know, first and foremost. They're all very fit. They look after themselves. A lot of them, you know, well, most of them really. The physiques are, you know, they're well looked after. They eat well, and the game's changed a lot now since when I played in it. You know, you had to really keep on top of your levels, and you know, they're a total different breed nowadays. So they're all fit lads. They're at good levels in terms of the level they're playing at, and it's just making sure that we don't get rusty. But it's very difficult. You know, games. There's no replacement for games. You know, you can train as much as you want, you can try and get as much sharpness as you want, but you know, you need the games to come week in, week out, and that's when you get your levels. But the time of season it is, I'd expect the lads to be, you know, still very fit, very sharp, and going back to today's session, you know, it was very bright, so ready to go now for Saturday.
Now, since we last spoke, obviously things have turned out how they have at North Ferriby United, which is very disappointing for their fans. It has put the league in a difficult position. They haven't said yet whether they're going to strip away the points entirely that the side have earned. But going off that idea that they do, Matlock currently, I believe, 13 points clear of the relegation zone. It would take us down to 10 points clear, but it would also give Mickleover 3 less points that we'll be able to pick up, so that we'd be pretty much in the same sort of place we are now. Do you feel your side's safe for relegation?
Not with 27 points to play for. You know, until it's mathematically safe, then we're not. No. So, you know, there's teams like Mickleover who are a good side. You know, they've got some good experience. They've brought in 1 or 2 players to try and add to that. You know, it's a local derby. You know, it's a game that we've got to get 3 points from, and one we're confident of getting. But you know, we have to match them, you know, physically and match their work rate and endeavour. So we've been down the bottom 3, you know, early season, and we managed to go on a big run to get us out there and get in touch and distance of the playoffs at one stage. So to keep that kind of run going was always going to be, you know, outstanding from the players. We've dropped off it a little bit from the turn of the year. You know, but we've picked up 2 wins out of the last 4, and you know, last time out we won 1-0 and kept a clean sheet, so that's positive. And as long as we keep picking wins up here and there, you know, we'll be fine.
I think it's fair to echo your previous sentiments in other interviews as well, that no game's an easy game, of course. Mickleover in particular, leading their line, most likely will be Nathan Jarman, a player who was your captain at Gainsborough, I believe. There's a lot of friendship between you two, a lot of friendship between some of Battle lads, some of the Mickleover lads, but there'll be no lack of determination to win.
Yeah, I never like them games where you're up against players that you managed and played against. You know, they always seem to bring a nervousness about them, and you know, it's one of them where you'd rather play teams against players that you didn't really know, because they always tend to pull out something. You see how many times you see players going back to their old clubs and, you know, really putting on a 10 out of 10 performance. So we know what Jarmo's strengths are, we know what Mickleover's strengths and weaknesses are, and you know, I'm sure they do know ours as well. We drew 0-0 at their place when we was in the start of the run that we went on. So I expect nothing but a tough game, and we had that with Ferriby. You know, they were a team that were well organised, they worked really hard, and I think the crowd were disappointed at the end because they expected us to be a cricket score. Never going to get that at this level. So putting the friendships aside on Saturday, you know, it'd be nice to see them, and you know, we wish them well after Saturday, and hopefully we'll go away with the 3 points.
For those who don't know, Evan Garnett, who is a Mickleover player, was down here as Belpatown Academy coach when his side got beat 5-1. So hopefully the first team will be hoping to repeat that performance. But to talk about incomings briefly, we've seen, since we last spoke, we've seen Jonathan Margaret's returned. We've seen Nathan Morley come in, and tonight we've had the addition of Niall Blake. Can you tell us more about, well, we don't need to know more about Jonathan Margaret, we already know a fair bit about him, but more about the other two lads, what was behind the decisions between you signing them, and what are your hopes for their time during Matlock?
Well, I mean, if you look at the squad now, it's threadbare. You know, the Luke injury decision was made today. Transfer deadline's next Thursday, so the last thing I want to do is keep people, you know, after the deadline, and if things don't work out, then they've got no club to go to. So I thought it was important that we had that conversation. He had an offer from Frickley, who have always been keen on Luke. I couldn't guarantee Luke games, and obviously looking at next year in mind, you know, it was probably best for Luke to move on. Nothing but praise for Luke. Excellent when he's been here in terms of his attitude, his commitment. Obviously he scored some important goals, but obviously with Johnny Margaret's coming in, and obviously now Blake coming in as well, we needed some pace and some quality to help the others up there, and one had to go by the wayside. Unfortunately it's Luke, and that's just decisions you had to make in football, but wish Luke all the best. Now Blake comes in at his pace, you know, electrifying pace, energy, you know, point to prove. So he'll be a good addition out wide. And obviously Nathan Morley's been training for 2 or 3 weeks now from Burton, so on non-contract basis, left winger, left-sided player. So gives us good natural balance. We've missed obviously Craig King, Marcus Marshall. Chap has been out and injured, in and out. So just to add before the transfer deadline, you know, a couple of young, hungry players who want to try and prove a point, and hopefully they can do that on Saturday.
Ahead of the transfer deadline day, which is this coming Thursday, do you see yourself making any more additions or any more outgoings? Are you happy with the side you've got now?
We're always looking to improve. That's always been the case since we've been here. Listen, the injuries don't clear up. You know, we're looking at Craig King won't play again this season. Marcus Marshall, Greg Tempest, Cleveland Taylor all did a bit tonight, but obviously won't be involved for Saturday. Maybe not next week. But hoping them three might be available towards the end of the season. So Nathan White suspended. So, you know, we've got 4 or 5 really key players out, and, you know, they'd probably be possible starters of this team. So it's important that we make sure that we've got enough bodies in the building before the transfer windows, but also got the likes of Harry Wood, Wellesley, Jordan Pearpoint, you know, some of the up-and-coming young lads that, you know, we'll look to get minutes to if we need to.
I will say this: the lads that have come in from the academy teams have done well, and it's something I feel that some fans understate how many chances the youngsters have been given under you. I think we've seen something like 8 academy players feature, whether it be starting for the first team or on the first team bench. How important do you feel it is to get that mix correct, but also to not chuck players in at the deep end when perhaps they might not be ready, and something that will not help them confidence-wise? I
think that's a great point you made there, is making sure you put them in at the right time, because you know, they might look great in training and do well in training, but you know, coming into a first team fixture when there's 3 points at stake, it's a whole different environment. But to be honest, the players that we have got in the academy have trained, but physically have looked after themselves well amongst the rest. So that's when you can tell whether they're ready or not. You know, they might be good technically, they might be quick, but can they handle the physicality side of it? And look at Ashton, you know, come in, stepped up. You know, hopefully we'll move on in the next few days. I don't know how many, we must have 8 and 10 of them been opportunities, you know, still training with us now. But next season you'll start to see a different vibe about the place in terms of the structure that we're looking to put in place. Obviously we've got meetings with the board over the next couple of weeks as well, and that integration between youth team, reserves and first team are a little bit more structured, and we'll be able to see the benefits of that even more, and it's something that we always want to promote. And like you say, we've not gone out and got loans from Football League clubs. Nathan and Niall that have come in, you know, have been non-contracted obviously into the end of the season, so that's added to that. But yeah, next year especially, hopefully, you know, 1 or 2 will get more opportunities.
I must admit as well, some supporters, I feel at times think loan market is a bit pointless, but you see a lot of managers at this level using it, and I think it can be a really good tool if used right. And we've seen Marcus Stenanga, other such players who've come in the past and made such a big difference to this club. Do you feel the loan market is something you could see yourself using more in the future, as well as mixing with the academy players?
To be honest, it's something I've not really done. I've had the odd one or two. We had Emerick Ravas at Gainsbury in goal, who was a revelation. Matty Taylor, both from Derby. You know, paid them next to nothing, just expenses, and they really stepped up. But I've not really used a lot, and I only believe in trying to get our own players that are attached to Matlock Town. And what's the point of having an academy or reserve team if you're not going to dip in and give them that pathway to the first team? It's just pointless. So they will get opportunities if they're good enough. You know, they've got to be hungry, they've got to be ready. And like I said, you know, we'll always look to give them first opportunities. And then if there's nothing in the reserve team or the youth team that aren't good enough, then that's when we'll probably look into the loan market. But I'd rather get experienced players from National League, National League North, Evo Prem, who know the level, because if you know the level, that gives you a massive advantage.
Within saying that as well, I don't think it can be understated how big of a jump up it is from reserve football to first team football.
Yeah.
It's not as small as it seems to a lot of fans who perhaps they don't see the day-to-day training, they don't see what goes on behind the scenes. But to be slightly cheeky here, because you have mentioned next season, would it be fair to say we will be seeing Dave Frecklington at the Proctor Arena next season?
You have to ask the chairman. We're in discussions at the minute. You know, we've got to iron out a few things, because for both parties really, you know, we want to try and keep that continuity. We've loved our time here, you know, as a management team. We've been welcomed with open arms. I think the job we've done has been a massive job. You know, people don't underestimate how big the job was when we came in. You know, and we've done the best of our ability. You know, I'm sure it hasn't pleased certain people, but I'm hoping that it's pleased the majority. You know, sitting in 12th, we've got 27 points to play from. We want to try and pick up as many points as we can, and then obviously see where we finish at the end of the season, and hopefully try and get something ironed out with the board, and hopefully we'll take it forward from there. But yeah, it's a club that we want to be a part of, and one that we want to take forward. And I'm sure if both parties, you know, sit down and get something agreed, you know, I'm sure we can move forward.
I want to be a bit more vocal as well about. No, I don't. I've totally forgot what I'm going to say. About how things are when it comes to things being run behind the scenes. There's a lot of people here who do a lot of jobs that go uncredited that I think people don't realise how much time yourself and Chris and Terry put in as well. It's a case of, because you've got a job outside of football, of course. It's not a couple of hours here and there. It's a long-term process, isn't it?
It is, and you know, during the winter months, it's been tough because we've only got an hour on a Tuesday, an hour on a Thursday, and it's very hard to work on Pacifics when you've only got that kind of time. So again, it's something that we're looking to try and address, because when we first came in, we had the ground. When the weather's great, you know, it's firm. You're working on the grass, you know, and you've got a full pitch to work to. You know, you saw the run we went on, because it was repetition. You know, we were working for 2 hours instead of, you know, 45 minutes by the time you warmed up. So, you know, there's a lot of time and effort and planning put into that, and we try and do things professionally. So yeah, there's a lot of things that, you know, goes on behind the scenes. You look at Mugger and Sol; they get not much credit, or we don't hear much from them, but they work just as hard as anybody. The volunteers, you know, the board, the groundsmen, you know, the supporters, everyone's in it together, and you know, that's what non-league's all about. You go to work, but you love coming to football, and you know, putting all your troubles behind you and coming out, and this is your release. It's for me, Chris and Terry. It's a release. It's something we want to be successful at, and you know, hopefully, if we can get the right squad together in the summer and everyone fighting in the same direction, we can have a successful season, you know, next year.
It's very much not a 9 to 5, but more of a 24/7 job, isn't it? Speak about the ground briefly, because I know some people were perhaps confused or didn't quite understand your comments after the Ferriby game, where you spoke about the pitch, where I think you, in your words, said it was an awful pitch.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people construed that as it was perhaps a criticism of the groundsman, which I don't feel.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Because we've had a very unusually hot summer, we've had a very unusually hot February. It's those sort of things that no matter how good a groundsman is, sometimes if the weather's not working with you and it's working against you, it makes life difficult. We also have a lot of teams that do play on this pitch, and it does have an impact, doesn't it?
It wasn't a dig or a go at anybody. It was the fact of, you know what I'm like. I'll say things how it is. It's either black or it's white. The pitch is great. I say the pitch is great. If it's poor, it's poor. That's not down to the groundsman. He works as hard as anybody, along with Dave Reynolds, and trying to get this right. I mean, you look tonight, the grass is starting to grow back. You know, it's rolled, but it gets hammered. You know, you've got 2 academies on it, you've got the reserves on it, you've got the first team on it, you know, as well as others. So it's impossible to get it. But on the day against Ferriby, it was 100-mile-an-hour wind. It was bone dry. It was bobbly. You know, it was not conducive to any style of football. We had to go even more direct, because if you take risks on a bobbly pitch, you make mistakes. So it was an awful conditions. The pitch wasn't, on the day, wasn't conducive to the football, wasn't to be played. But it was no dig at anybody. If that's the way it came across, then I can only apologise for that.
What I would say is you're an emotive person. You're very. I've always said I'd rather have a manager who I can go and sit and chat to in the social club after, who you can tell really cares about the result. And I think, as a manager, you're one of those who, if the club don't get a result, it is something that ruins your weekend slightly, as opposed to you're going to skip home and you're not going to care. I think a lot of people don't see that behind the scenes, and it's something that I think if people took more of a chance to come and speak to you, whether it be before a game, after a game, in the social club, or even you're very active on Twitter. If someone wants to ask a question via that medium, I think you'd be more than open to answering it, wouldn't you?
That's it. It's what we're always there for. You know, we did it at every club we've been at. You know, we like to spend a bit of time with supporters after the game. You know, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, me and Terry and Chris have always hit it head on. You know, that's the best way to come. You'll find us after every home game in the bar, away game in the bar. You know, and we're not just go shoot on straight off, because it's all about that side of it as well. It's not about coming here and managing the game and then going straight off, forgetting about it. It's all about, you know, making sure you liaise with everybody, make sure, you know, you get good feedback, instant feedback by supporters. They always tell you they always give an opinion, and when you get a lot of opinions, you know, you can go away and make your own mind up. But yeah, we're approachable. We've never shied away from anything, and like you say, it's always good to come and do it face to face than behind a computer screen. It's
about building that community as well. Everybody needs to be pushing in the same direction, because it's not something, and I've said in the past, I think the best way of explaining it is our players, they aren't like a Wayne Rooney or someone like that. They're on 300k a week. They're not going to care what the average punter thinks. But a player at this level, they do look at it and they do read these things, and it's something that they will deeply connect with, because they know these people. They feel part of a family. And do you feel criticism, whether it's constructive and especially positiveness after a game when perhaps we've won, are very important to hear from the supporters?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if they're paying money to come and watch us play, you know, they've got an opinion. I've got no problem with that, as long as it's done in the right way. You know, if it's constructive and it's spoken in the right manner. You know, if you're going to come and fire, you know, swearing and abuse with us, then it's not going to get you anywhere. But as long as it's done in the right way, you know, like I said, come and see us. You know, good, bad, or indifferent. We'll always give an honest opinion, and you'll get an honest answer back. You know, it's as simple as that. If whatever I see, you know, I'll give reasons why we hit certain teams, certain players, and it's always good to do that after the game.
Right, we've got 80 minutes. You've graciously given me your time, so I feel I should let you get off, because no doubt you want to get home. So thank you very much for your time, Dave, and I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday. Cheers, thanks.